The subject of this panel is Back to Live, the evolution of live music and where it's going and where it's been, and obviously the connection of electronics and live music.
My current obsession actually is integrating guitar with electronics. I started jamming with DJs in like 1999, and it was a lot of fun because the DJs had somebody they could interact with, and I had the perfect rhythm section.
Now I'm feeling like I need to play live again. I need to play the piano. I need to play with my live partners, with drummers and guitars and all this kind of stuff, the real music and the real life, and connected with electronic music. We need to show the electronic music is connected with everything, with a lot of kinds of music. And at the end, the main idea for my live show was play electronic music with other kinds of music, and at the end is we are playing all the different kind of music with the electronic things. So it's question to develop something different for the people and from the crew, you know? It's not question to arrive with a pre-recorded set and that's it. We need something more human, you know?
I think there was definitely that change where certain promoters could see that, well, hang on, I can sell 20,000 tickets with one guy and an LED screen instead of 7 guys with an entourage and so on. But I think now it's gone, like Pino says, it's gone back the other way now, where because the DJs need so many more tricks, if you like, the bigger screens, the bigger effects and so on, and their fees have gone to the point where you could probably afford U2. You know, that obviously people are looking back towards live music as well, and you know, I think generally you don't get a much better reaction from a crowd than them being able to interact with 5 girls or guys on stage playing live music. So
yeah, Ibiza Rocks was started because we felt that the club scene was becoming tired, and it had got to the stage where there, you know, this was 10 years ago this year, but you know, it got to a stage where there was old people playing records to pretty old people, and there was something emerging, you know, that was really spontaneous and different, and it's a cycle, you know, it happens, and we were just more energized by what live music was delivering, and I mean, going back to England and all around the place and seeing bands like The Strokes and Franz Ferdinand and Block Party, and it was just like Ibiza's missing something, and if we don't capture that festival generation, then we'll lose that generation. Now, since that's happened, a lot of things have changed, particularly with technology and the fact that all music is free and people's influences seem to be a lot broader. So I don't think the idea of being a live promoter and then promoting them, you know, shows with DJs feels that different, because you can actually deliver to the same audience. But yeah, I think we felt that something was missing, for sure.
Well, in the island, I'm sorry to say that, there definitely wasn't missing it. This island was, I did about 242 live shows, and unfortunately it was not as successful as it's today at DJ. I wish they would be as successful as now. We played, this island has always been an island of music. If we're talking about, this island has been always about live music. This island I had Duran Duran, Tok Tok, Thompson Twins, Spandau Ballet, James Brown, Freddie Mercury, Ian Dury, Nina Hagen, and go on.
Yeah, but there was a big gap between when you were doing it, Pino, and then when we started to do it, for sure. There was that lull whenever the shift went to big club promoters, big DJs.
We never know where even the DJ booth was in that time. I remember we would look in the DJ, we don't even know. If you would ask anyone, where is the DJ booth? No one would look at it. Today, which good for the disco and for everybody, it was a big change. So now today you have a DJ which sells out, and definitely the cost is cheaper because you come into the club, you don't need to have that big production, even though today, even in the clubs, you need to have a massive production, which is different. As I say, I mean, I really believe it's been a great thing, the fact that DJ has taken the step they have and they are in the position they are. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that is an evolution on things, which everything is evolution in this world. And I think the DJ, I only hope the DJ doesn't make the same mistakes some big bands do, which they get cut by the production manager, and the production manager runs the show, and they get into the ego to say, we need a bigger stage, bigger lights, bigger things, and then in the end it just becomes so big everything, which in the end only damage their fan bases, and in the end of the day really hurts their business.
One of the easiest things I think as a DJ, and probably DJs will argue with this, but you know, you have millions of nightclubs around the world, so it's so much easier to sort of break out as a DJ. Whereas live bands, you know, there's so few venues really where you can actually go and play proper live music these days. And I think that, you know, as somebody who's operated a club for many, many years, you know, I think any club now that's having a refurb or building a new, that, you know, they should, you know, build a setup where they can do live, whether that's some kind of hydraulic stage that comes out when they want to play live events. I think they've got to start covering them genres and making the club more flexible in general. I mean, I'm a firm believer that I actually think, you know, there was a time when bands would gig for free to sell their records, and now they give the records away to get the gigs. And so the business is in, you know, the entertainment. It's the bit that you can't steal. And I actually wouldn't be surprised in the near future that if smart venues don't end up becoming the new record labels. You know, one of my concerns with all this, which is, you know, maybe it's an overreaction, but I sort of look around now and I look at my own little boy who's sitting just over there. He's 6 years old, already playing around with sort of, you know, iPads and all the rest of it. And it does concern me that in another 30 years, will the art of musicianship be a sort of lost language almost? And kids are just so used to pushing buttons and getting a quick fix and hearing music. And like Mark said, not actually spending 5 years to learn an instrument. And I just hope and pray that we never go down that road.
But I think you can't stop progress, and you've got to respect the fact that, you know, access to technology is a great liberator. Because, to finish the point, it's like you talk about, it's about what you do with stuff, and, you know, Kraftwerk were probably there doing what they did, and people, you know, were going, yeah, but is that art? What are you creating? Because it's not a traditional instrument. You know, I think you've got to, you can't stop progress, you can't stop technology, and it's about how people use it. I mean, and then how that integrates with what's been around forever, like the guitar. So you can't, it's not one or the other anymore.
So lots of band members are becoming DJs now because in their spare time, because it's easier to make a little bit more money. And does it help in the songwriting process?
I think, I mean, I personally do benefit from that, and yeah, it is an easy way of making money, and it helps make ends meet. I think it can contribute to how you see a live performance as a musician, because at the end of the day, you're engaging with an audience, and it's a very different spectrum, but it's an important sort of principle to learn how to engage with an audience in that way. You're not playing your own music, you're probably playing someone else's music. But there are certain similarities, and there are certain sort of buzzers that you get off a DJ set that you can't get off playing live, and vice versa.
Danny, what are the changes that you've seen dramatically in the last few years?
Well, you know, I think what I said at the beginning really is relevant. I think, you know, we are seeing more DJs now sort of put live elements around them. We're seeing, you know, bands like Disclosure coming forward. Now Duke Dumont's set up with a band, and Uner's doing a band, and, you know, so on. And there's certainly other, you know, Jamie XX, people from bands getting into DJing. Don't get me wrong, I'm not rubbishing DJs at all. They're my life. That's what I do, and that's what I truly believe in. But that's why I also believe that there is room for a real fusion between the worlds, and I see that's exactly what's happening now.
Is there a space for a festival in Ibiza that kind of incorporates all of this?
Well, you know what, we did it, and my good friend Pino over there put his ass on the line for it, and, you know, pulled off one of the most incredible lineups I've ever seen in my life, to be honest, and certainly for Ibiza. You know, with Elton John, Sting, Lenny Kravitz, playing with Luciano and David Guetta and Avicii and everybody else. It was amazing, you know, and I think there was an element that he was probably 2 years too early, and another thing of, I suppose, not continuing with something, but and also the sort of politics of Ibiza as well, of doing something outside of the club, so that it doesn't make it easier. But, you know, both me and Pino, and I know Shane and probably everybody here are a huge fan of the concept of a Coachella-style event, you know, where it's obvious the two things do, you know, live perfectly well together. You can see AC/DC on the main stage and then go over to the dance arena, and it's almost as big as the main stage these days. So there's definitely room for these things working together, no, Shane?
Yeah, I just think that politics tend to play a pretty heavy role in the day-to-day life of Ibiza, and, you know, people tend to have their domains and remain within them, and that seems to be allowed, and any true collaboration or real forward thinking sometimes takes an awful long time to manifest itself. But yeah, Ibiza's changing, and it's changing radically, and the audience mix is changing too. You know, the demographics are growing wider. You know, it's the original generation who might have come back for the first super clubs 20, 25 years ago. They're staying, and their tastes are remaining. So I think we've got to look at the future of the island, and music clearly, you know, drives the economy of the island, and therefore diversifying that is natural for sure. We just need to find the right venues, the right collaborators, the right investment.